I got the little message here. I like the way you have to approve it now. It's being live streamed.
All right, we are good to go.
Wonderful. Good evening, everyone. We are here for the Northborough Board of Selectmen interview subcommittee for November 8th, 2021. It is after the hour of 6:30 p.m. This open meeting of the Board of Selectmen Interview Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of June 16, 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. All members of the interview committee are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the interview committee to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. Each vote taken this evening will be conducted by roll call vote. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Scott Rogers.
Present.
And me, Leslie Rattan, also present. So first we are going to be interviewing for a position on the Board of Registrars this evening. We have one opening and we have one person interviewing. So Andy, if you would like to bring Veronica in.
Certainly.
Hi, Veronica.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm Leslie Rattan, Board of Selectmen, and this is Scott Rogers also. We're both on the interview subcommittee.
Hi, Veronica.
Hi.
Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate you taking the time. So if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background, that would be wonderful. Tell us about yourself, just because we see the information on our applications, but this is for the public so they know a little bit more about you.
Okay. So I'm Veronica Mueller. Grew up in Northborough. I still live in town. Went to all the Northborough public schools. Graduated from St. Anselm College with a criminal justice degree. I actually worked at the Northborough Police Department for quite some time as a dispatcher. Then went off to get my master's in public administration, and I'm currently the assistant town clerk in Holliston.
That's wonderful.
Great.
Yeah.
You've done a lot already.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of things. That's terrific. So you were applying for the position of Board of Registrars. Could you explain why you would like to serve in this capacity?
So working in as the assistant town clerk in Holliston, I feel as though I have some knowledge on the elections. I know that's a big part of the Board of Registrar. I've actually worked with Andy Dowd at the elections in Northborough before, and now I'll just gain more experience working with Holliston. So I just want to be able to help out in Northborough still. So I thought this would be a good way.
It was terrific. Yeah, I'm looking over your resume, and it's really impressive, considering I remember you. It just seems like yesterday you were running track or something, weren't you, at the high school?
I know.
Right. Okay. So you're active at the high school, but all these different things you've done with, like you said, the assistant town clerk, police and fire dispatcher here, KEEP program, Worcester County Juvenile Probation Department, Northborough Rec Summer Camp, Worcester County Courthouse, DA's office, Hampshire House Volunteer. So you've really done a lot of things. And
yeah, get knowledge in all the different areas.
Yep, absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely. Andy, could you explain what exactly this position entails and what the meeting schedule would be? What would be expected of Veronica?
Sure. So the registrars basically serve in a it's really like a figurehead role in the law. If you read about elections and the certification of voter registration, mail-in ballot requests, nomination papers, petitions, the board of registrars are the ones challenged or required to certify all those items. You know, nowadays in the modern town clerk's office, we do that work for them, but the law still requires us to have a board, and we're using their signature stamp with their permission. So every time, like right now, we're in the midst of receiving petitions for ballot questions. It will be on next year's fall election ballot. The folks that are out there gathering signatures, they have to bring those into us, and we have to verify all those. And part of the verification is once we complete that work on the form, the names of the registrars have to be signed or stamped on the back. So that's the primary purpose. One of the more important functions that they may serve on a rare occasion is if we have an election recount, which we've had one in my time. The registrars during that time, they serve basically as the judges at the recount, as the folks go through the ballots and determine what they think the vote was. If there's any question about that between both sides, usually whether it's a ballot question in the situation we had in my experience, or if it's a candidate, you know, both sides are able to view that. And if there's a debate whether or not that was in fact a yes or no vote, the ballot is then taken over to the registrars for further review. So at that point, they serve a very important function in the election recount. And ultimately, they certify that process. Fortunately for us, that recounts are fairly rare, and hopefully it stays that way. But when it does happen, they serve a very important function.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I apologize, I'm remiss in not mentioning that you, Andy Dowd, are here for our meeting this evening. You are the town clerk, and you're also hosting the meeting, so you're doing double duty here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very much. So, Veronica, do you have any questions of us or of Andy as far as this particular position goes?
I don't think so.
Okay. Andy, is there any kind of, just a kind of a random question, is there any kind of a special permission that you have to get from each member of the Board of Registrars that allows you to use their name on a stamp?
It's simply a letter that we have them submit that gives us permission to utilize the stamp. You know, in some very small communities, they may actually have the registrars come in the office on occasion to, you know, physically sign the documents. But, you know, we literally received two, you know, probably 3-inch thick FedEx packages a couple weeks back. It's a lot of stamping. It would be a lot of signing. So that's typically how most offices across the state handle it. So we just asked them to submit a letter giving us permission to use that. So
I see. Okay, wonderful. Okay. Scott, do you have any questions?
I guess it almost turns out to be another question for Andy. Are there any periodic meetings or anything that would need to be fit into someone's schedule other than
typically the board rarely meets? They're one of those you know, boards that there's really no reason for them to meet, other than if there is a significant event around elections. There are a few situations where the Board of Registrars may be required to convene a meeting to oversee the counting of a few ballots that came in late. There's certain situations on state elections when that's permissible, but that also is pretty rare. And like I said, if we had a recount, then the board would convene a meeting to discuss that, because ultimately they're the ones that, you know, once the recount request is received, they're the ones that do all the actual setup and organization. At least they're the ones that are overseeing it. So.
Okay, thanks. So Veronica, it sounds like, you know, between your prior work in public safety for Northborough and your current work as an assistant town clerk, this is right in line. And yeah. I can imagine that you're fully, you've demonstrated the willingness, and you're probably looking forward to this appointment.
Yes.
And no reservations.
Yes. Yes.
That sounds great. So no further questions there. Just, as always, you know, thank you for your willingness to help the town out and continue to be a part of the Northborough community.
Of course, thank you.
We appreciate that. The next step would be that we would make a motion to recommend approval for you at our next Board of Selectmen meeting on November 22nd.
Okay.
After which point you would go to see Andy actually and get sworn in.
Okay.
Even though they don't meet and they don't particularly vote on anything, Andy, I assume that she would need to get sworn in. Yes.
Sorry. Yes. Yep.
Okay.
She'll be sworn in and given all the usual open meeting law materials and everything else that I give out to all the appointed and elected folks. So,
Yes, yes. Oh, that's fun, actually, that particular open meeting law online.
and I'm sure Veronica just completed all that for her current employment. And so if she has, it's luckily she doesn't have to do the test again because that will suffice, just a copy of it. So,
Yeah, wonderful. So that's the next thing that happens. So I don't anticipate any issues, to be honest. So
Okay.
I think you'll be all set. So after November 22nd, if you want to just go see Andy at your convenience, that'd be wonderful. So
Perfect. Okay.
thank you very much. Thank you for volunteering, and thank you for the time and interviewing with us. We appreciate it. It's good to see you.
Of course. Good to see you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Take
care.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
that's right.
Andy, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We appreciate it. That's good information, just to get out there anyway, as far as what that board does, because generally you don't hear too much about it, but it's something that we obviously need to have in place, because when you need it, you need it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, if you read the election, sorry to interrupt you. If you read the election laws, like I said, the Board of Registrars really have a long list of duties. So it is interesting. That's just the way that things used to be organized in the past. So.
Interesting. Wow, that's great. So do either of you have any issues with us recommending Veronica for this position at our next meeting?
No, absolutely in favor. She's a known quantity to us in terms of her previous work as a dispatcher. Seeing that she's town clerk, assistant town clerk by profession now, well aligned for this appointment. So no reservations there.
And are you all set then?
I'm very much looking forward to having her aboard. And we actually have 2 openings. So there is still an additional opening available. And we have to have a minimum of 3 registrars. I'm considered a member of the board by right of office. But right now we only have 1 other registrar, who's Rick Hagan. So Veronica will bring us back up to at least the minimum of 3. We need at least 3 folks to sign all those documents. So.
Okay, so you have the minimum, but ideally you need another member.
Yeah, we could have 4.
Okay, that's good to know.
Make note of that.
Yeah, that'll be great to have her involved. That's wonderful. So I think that ends our meeting, except for acceptance of, and we'll take care of it at our next meeting then, Andy, and then acceptance of our meeting minutes of September 30th, 2021.
Well, let me first, let's make it official on Veronica then.
Yes,
So,
yes.
I move the subcommittee vote to recommend Veronica Mueller for appointment to the Board of Registrars at the November 22nd, 2021 Selectmen's meeting.
Thank you for reading that. Second. All those in favor? Was there any discussion? No?
No
All
further
those in
discussion.
favor? Aye.
And Scott Rogers is also aye.
Awesome. Okay. Wonderful. So the only thing we have left for is the approval of the meeting minutes of September 30th, 2021.
Absolutely. So I move we vote to approve the meeting minutes from September 30th, 2021 as presented.
Okay, I second that. Is there any discussion? Okay, none. All those in favor? Scott?
Aye.
And Leslie, aye. Wonderful. Okay, well, that ends our meeting of the interview subcommittee. Andy, thank you very much for being here to explain that particular committee, and thank you for hosting the meeting. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So I move we vote to adjourn.
I second that.
Okay.
Roll
I
call
will
vote.